everyone, I am Namrata. I welcome you all to the sixth edition of India March for Science. So, March for Science is a global science movement which is being organized all across the world. And in India, also, we celebrate it every year and in the month of August. So, celebrating science, this March for Science program stresses on the role of science in building modern civilization, the importance of promoting scientific temper, importance of saving the environment, and the use of science for a healthy progress of society. So, this year, being the International Year for Basic Sciences and Sustainable Development, we stress even more on the necessity to propagate science and scientific temper in the society. So, in the background of IMFS, we have conducted series of webinars, and today's being the first one. Today, we have with us the eminent personality, Dr. TV Ramachandra, for today's webinar on World Nature Conservation Day. So it is an honor to introduce him to you all. So to tell about him, Dr. T.V. Ramachandra has obtained his PhD in Ecology and Energy from Indian Institute of Sciences. At present, he is the coordinator of Energy and Wetlands Research Group, convener of Environmental Information System at Center for Ecology Sciences. He has worked extensively on several domains that includes energy, wetlands, urban planning, solid waste management, and geographic information systems across the Western Ghats and Bengaluru too. So he has been the recipient of several awards. That includes the Parisara Award by Karnataka government in 2018. He is the recipient of Energy Legend 2011, Energy Engineer 2009, Johnny Biosphere Award for Ecology and Environment in 2004, and Satish Savan Young Scientist Award in 2007 of Karnataka State Government. So you can know more about him and read about him on the network. Welcome Dr. TV Ramachandra for today's webinar. I'll hand over the session to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Namrata. So now I will share the
Yes, sir.
slides.
Yeah.
You should tell me whether slides are visible. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It's in a projection mode, no?
Yes, sir. It's in projection mode and your slide is visible.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me to interact with the people who take active part in the Breakthrough Science Society. So I'll be talking about nature conservation and how that helps in mitigating the changes in climate and what is the worth of the ecosystem. I'll be discussing in my presentation. So that today I'll talk about changes in climate and the Western Ghats, how Western Ghat is helping us, I'll discuss. Then I will talk briefly about Bangalore. Then what is our role in the conserving the nature so that we can mitigate the changes in climate. Now, we all know the implication of changes in climate. Whether it is a wildfire, what happens in Texas, or the floods that happens in our country very often. So these are all the indication of changes in climate. So I have listed many of those instances, even the what happened in Kodagu and Kerala, which led to the flooding and also loss of life and property in those regions. Okay. So now when you look at the changes in temperature, you see that the temperature is increasing, which is correlated with the increase in the carbon dioxide level in the system. That is what is worrying. As we increase the greenhouse gas footprint, we are also seeing changes in climate. Now, if you are talking about restricting the increase in temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius, we need to curtail the increases in the greenhouse gas footprint. That is due to anthropogenic activities. Now, these are all the various sectors that contribute to the greenhouse gas emission. It could be from industry or for the transportation sector, then the deforestation. When you look at the share of this one, burning fossil fuel constitute about 50%. Then you have the deforestation, which contribute about 14%. And when you look at the share of the greenhouse gases, CO2 constitute the major, which come from the burning. Then you have the methane. It could be from the various biological process that happens when we mismanage the waste. you see the methane generation happens in the system. So now the impacts of the changes in climate is the rise in sea level. That is where the coastal cities have to worry about, and the you know that the major population stays along the ocean. So then the melting of the glacier, which will lead to the flooding, what happened in Uttarakhand, and the cloud burst, and such instances will increase. Then we have the high intensity rainfall. See, the Bangalore and the other regions are also facing that, which means the rain which are supposed to come for a 3 or 4 months, if it comes in 2 or 3 days, so what will happen? You will have the flooding. That's what happened in Mumbai also. The rainwater supposed to come in the entire July, came in the first 10 days of July. That's where there was a huge flooding and the calamities associated with that in the Mumbai. Then associated with the flooding, we also see the drought. And more worrying thing is the decline in crop productivity. So now, when we talk about sustainable development, see, we need to ensure the clean air, water, and environment to our next generation. That is what sustainable development means. If you are talking about sustainable development, you need to maintain the ecosystem integrity. That is where the nature conservation happens. When nature conservation happens, we are maintaining the ecosystem integrity, but that all depends on the responsible decision making. That is where we require the sensible citizens. The people with the environmental awareness or the knowledge are the sensible citizens. For that we need to have the environmental education at all levels of education, which would promote lifelong learning and enhance the environmental literacy. Now, when we look at the best way is to learn from the mother nature. So when you look at the simple food chain, you will see the energy and material transfer happening from one level to the other level. So from this, you can also learn the principles of thermodynamics. And whatever is left in the system is get converted into elemental form by bacteria and fungi. These are called decomposers or the biodegraders. You see that that means in a ecosystem there's nothing called waste. Everything gets synthesized, and that is how there is nature is always in balance. When we talk about conservation of nature, we are essentially trying to maintain the balance among these things. That for that to happen, you need to maintain the ecosystem integrity. So now let us look at how many species that are there on the earth. As per the science, we have estimated about 1.3 million species, and of course our scriptures talks about 8 to 12 million species. Now let me take you to the region which is known as the hotspots of biodiversity. That is the Western Ghat. That's where I work. If you look at Western Ghat, it constitutes a 5% of India's geographical area. When we talk about conserving the ecologically sensitive region, we are talking about this 5% of the India geographical area. And this region is endowed with a rich diversity of plant and animals, and also because of the water, the due to the perennial rivers, you see that there is a the water security in the peninsular India. That means the Western Ghat acts as a backbone to the livelihood of the people in the peninsular India. Because of the water security, we have the food security in the region. Now, let us try to understand the diversity of life in the Western Ghat. As I said earlier, the Western Ghat extends from Kerala to Gujarat. If you look at latitudinally, it extends from 8 degree to 22-degree latitude. When you look at the number of species that occur along the latitudinal gradient, you will see at 8 to 14 degree, the highest number of species are there. This 8 to 14 degree latitude corresponds to Kerala and Karnataka part of Western Ghats. That means the highest number of species that occur in the globe is in the Western Ghats, that too the Kerala and Karnataka part of Western Ghats. When we look at the diversity of plants and animals, you have the diverse food. Because of the diverse food, you have the diverse medicine also. Because of the diversity of medicine or the medicinal properties in this the biodiversity, you have the immunity. That is how we could, if you see the people from the Western Ghat are more immune to the diseases which occurs otherwise in the other part of the country. So now let us try to see how the Western Ghat is changing. See, we use the remote sensing data. This is the data acquired through the spaceborne platform at a regular interval. We launched the satellite way back in 1970s. From 1970, every 21 or 30 days interval, you get the picture of the Earth. When you analyze that picture of the Earth corresponding to the Western Ghats, you will come to know what changes are happening in the Western Ghats. There is a big data available, and that today there are the improvements in the data, the analysis, through the artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithm. We have automated the this data analysis also. Now, when you look at this from 1985 to 2018, if you look at there is a degradation of the forest. Not only the forests are degrading, the spatial extent is declining. You see there is a fragmentation of the forest also is happening. The forest, if it is contiguous, you will see less of human animal conflict. But when the forests get fragmented, you will have more of human animal conflicts and other associated problems. Now, we also try to assess how much carbon is stored by the plants in the Western Ghats. We have looked at the above ground and also the below ground biomass. And our estimate shows that it stores about 1.23 million gigagrams of carbon in the vegetation and soil. And if you look at the every year, it stores about 37,000 gigagram, which is equivalent to the carbon, the emissions from the major cities like Bangalore, the Chennai, the Mangalore, Trivandrum, etc. The sequestered carbon, if you look at from the economic angle, it amounts to 100 billion rupees. So, or $1.4 billion. So now, what is likely to happen if the current path of the degradation continues? We have tried to estimate that, but more importantly, for today's talk, how that would affect the climate in the region, we have tried to project that there will be changes in temperature. There is a likelihood of about the zero point 0.5 to the 1 degree Celsius temperature increase in the region. Then you will have the changes in rainfall. Some region will receive higher rainfall, some region will receive the low rainfall, and more worrying thing is the changes in rainy days. As I said earlier, the rain which is supposed to come for 4 to 6 months, if it comes in 3 or 4 days, you will have higher instances of flooding. Associated with that, you will have the landslides, mudslides, etc. These are the implications we are going to face with the degradation of the landscapes in the Western Ghats. That's where we need to conserve the Western Ghats. Okay. Now, this gives a summary of what I have said so far. When you look at there is a decline in evergreen forest by 5% during 1985 to 2018. Okay. Now, we need to maintain the ecosystem. So that is the if you maintain the ecosystem integrity, you will have those species that occur in the region. So now, if we don't do it, what is going to happen in addition to loss of biodiversity and how it affects the humans? Let us try to understand. I will take you to a Sharavati River Basin. This is the Sharavati River Basin, where we carried out studies. When I was a student, I used to see a plenty of water, and today, in the same month, I do not see the water in the region. So now, when you look at ecosystem integrity is altered here, you can see the degradation that has happened here. With the degradation of the landscape or the watershed, you see the loss of water and the biodiversity in the region. See, as we all know, the way the landscape is covered decides its ecosystem functions, which include the water cycle, hydrological cycle, nutrient cycle, and the biogeochemical cycles. Now, to understand this further, let me take you to the river basin. See, this river originates at Ambutirtha in Shivamogga, traverses 128 kilometers, joins the ocean. Now, we constructed a dam way back in 1964. Now, construction of the dam, whether it has affected the rainfall or the water availability, let us try to understand. See, when we constructed a dam, we submerged 178 villages that are there in the Sharavati, the reservoir area. In those villages, the farmers who were there, the villagers who were there, they were forcefully evicted and they were put in the dryer belt. This is what the mistake we do when we implement the large scale project. If we do not do the proper rehabilitation, we are going to pay the heavy price as we have paid the price in the case of Sharavati. So those farmers who are practicing the wet cultivation, they waited for, they couldn't survive in the dry belt because they were rehabilitated in the drier areas. They waited for the reservoir work to be completed, As soon as the reservoir work is over, they just came to this region. They converted a forest land into the agricultural land, and today those agricultural land have become a degraded land. That's what the remote sensing data shows. And if you look at the entire region, receives the orographic precipitation is undulating terrain and it's a rain catching region. Now, one part, the on the western side you see a dense forest, on the eastern side you see the degraded landscape. Now, to understand what changes it has done for the rainfall, let us look at the rainfall data, which is available for the 122 years. We can divide the rainfall data into two time periods, 1901 to 1964 and 1965 to 2020. During 1901 to 1964, this entire region was receiving the rainfall of 3,000 to 4,500. But today, 1965 to today, if you look at, one portion continues to receive 3,000 to 4,500 millimeter, while the other side, we see a decline in the rainfall. Now, to understand this further, we divided this the catchment into the sub-basin. You can see the polygons. These are the sub-basins on the west. These are on the eastern side. Now, let's look at the rainfall and the forest cover in each sub-basin. So, when you look at on the eastern side, the forest cover is 30% in this sub-basin. Rainfall is 1,776, or 41%. The forest cover rainfall is 1,715. Now, when you look at the western side, you see the forest cover is 65%, rainfall is 4,800, or the forest cover is 60%, rainfall is 4,400. So that means it shows that wherever forest is there, the rainfall continues to be the same. Now, to understand the water availability in the region, we have monitored the select streams in this sub-basin. We have graded the streams as A, B, C, D. Here, the stream carry the water for 12 months. B are the stream carry water for 8 months. C are the one carry water for 6 months. D are the one carry water only during monsoon. Now, when you look at where, in which are the stream which are perennial or the 12 months water is there, the provided this catchment area has the native species forest greater than 55 or 60%. When we convert the catchment into monoculture plantation, either the rubber or acacia, you see the streams become either 6 months or 8 months. When we degrade the catchment with the forest cover less than the vegetation cover less than 30%, you see the water availability only during the monsoon. Now, to understand our experiment, you see that this is the catchment. We put the sensors in the underlying layer to understand when it rains how much water gets infiltrated into the region. So our see, when the forest is there, native species, because of the native species, the diversity, you see the roots are also diverse. When roots are diverse, you see that the soil microbes are abundant and diverse. When soil microbes are diverse and abundant, the soil becomes porous or permeable. When soil becomes porous, when it rains, the water percolates and it fills this zone, which is a groundwater zone. Then it fills the Vado zone. Then after filling this region, you will see a water flowing in the stream. Now, after 4 months, the rain will stop. Then you see the water that is stored in this region will come to the river or stream for 4 months. During summer, the water stored here comes to the river or stream for the next 4 months. Now, when you look at the amount of water that get infiltrated in the region, it amounts to about 50 to 60% of the rainfall. While where the catchment is degraded, you see the amount of the infiltration is less than 15 or 20%. Now, when you see that the amount of water that is available in this region, you see that the people use the water for growing crops, agriculture, horticulture, then fish, this one, livestock rearing, etc., and domestic purpose. We have tried to analyze the water availability for these activities and also the water that is available from the rain. You see that in this region there is a demand for water is higher, but there is a sufficient amount of water or a surplus water. While in this region, since the most of the water has run off as the flood, you do not see the amount of water. There is a scarcity of water in the region. Our study shows this in this catchment there are the 12 months water is available, and here the green ones are the 8 months, and here are the 6 months, the yellow ones, and blue ones are the 4 months. Now, when you overlay the vegetation cover, you see wherever native species forests are there, you have the water for 12 months in the stream. Wherever forests are fragmented and converted into monoculture plantation, depending on the extent of fragmentation, you have 8 to 6 months of water. Where we have degraded a landscape less than 30% green cover, you see that we have only 4 months of water. So now to understand how it affects the livelihood of the people, if you look at the farmers, the livelihood, if the farmers in this region, if they earn 1,54,000 rupees per acre per year, the farmers in this region, they earn only 32,000 rupees per acre per year. That's mainly because since the water is available throughout the year, the farmers can grow cash crop, multiple crop. That's how the income is higher, while the farmers in this region can grow only one crop. Another important thing we need to understand is that because of the native species forest, there is a diversity of pollinators in the form of bees and insects, etc. Because they are abundant, pollination is efficient. When pollination is efficient, the yield in the crop is higher. Our study shows that farmers get, for example, paddy, the yield of the 14 to 16 quintal per acre, while the farmers in this region, because of the poor pollination, because of the absence of the diverse pollinator, you will see the yield is only 6 to 8 quintal per acre. Those who are interested in this study, we have published this in the current science. You can, the May 2020, you can download this article and go through for the further details. Okay, now let's look at the diversity of animals. You see, wherever water is there, you will see the sloth, bear, tiger, etc. Where water is not there, you can see only the two-legged animals. So now we also have described the two species of fish in this region, which has a medicinal property. As you all know, this fish has a medicinal property, the Shishtura nagotiensis and Sharavatiensis. If it is grows in their habitat, it will retain the medicinal properties. Now, for that fish to grow in their habitat, the water should be there throughout the year. Then only the fish can survive. Now, for the water to be there in the stream, the catchment should have the vegetation of native species. So that shows that the aquatic diversity is linked to the terrestrial the diversity. Now, with the changes in landscape, we see that we are paying heavy price in the scarcity of water. That's what we have noticed in most part of the Karnataka and in India. Now, if the water is not there, what is going to happen to this organism? Let us try to understand through this example of a frog. We all know frogs are known as amphibians because there are two stages in the life cycle. First stage is the juvenile stage or the tadpole stage. It requires the water. The next stage is the adult stage, which is on the land. Now, if the water is not there, then the tadpole cannot survive. In such a situation, what happens to this organism? Let us try to understand through an example of Philetus leucorinus. Now, what we noticed during our study is that after fertilization of the egg, in absence of water, there was no tadpole stage, and we saw the younger ones emerging out on the 14th or 15th day. That means these animals have learned how to get adapted to a situation when there is a water scarcity. Now, with the changes in climate, we are bound to face a severe water crisis on the earth, and I'm sure the human species will go extinct with the absence of water. We might have invented supercomputer, we might have developed the various capabilities, but the sheer mismanagement of the nature, we are going to lose the water. When we lose the water, we will pay the heavy price. Only these organisms which are adapted to a situation will survive. Okay. Now, let us also learn from the history. See, Easter Island, people went on expanding the island, but one day the island people have to vacate because of the scarcity of water. The similar thing happened during the Vijayanagara kingdom. Last leg of Vijayanagara kingdom failed because of the water scarcity. And more importantly, recently we all faced the COVID the last 2 years. These are known as zoonotic diseases because the origin is from the wild animal. Say, for example, in Karnataka, we have monkey fever disease in the Western Ghat. In some of the district of Western Ghat, like Shivamogga, the Uttar Kannada, etc. Why do we have this monkey fever in this region? Because the monkeys started coming to the human habitation. When they came to the human habitation, the ticks on the monkey body got detached. When they bite the human, the virus got transferred to the human. That's where every year we see 200 to 300 people get killed because of the monkey fever disease. Now let us try to understand why did monkeys come to the human habitation. That's mainly because when people converted a native species forest into the monoculture plantation, the monkeys didn't get their food or the water. In absence of food and water, they came to the human habitation in search of water. That is how people pay heavy price in the form of death every year. The similar thing happened with the COVID. The origin is from the wild animal. Okay, so now we need to manage the ecosystem. Let us try to, as a individuals, as the citizen of the globe, how we can do it. See, the simple thing is if we take a healthy diet, we are also conserving the water. When I talk about healthy diet, the diversity of food and the pulses will make you the healthy. You know, when your food plate is diverse, you tend to have a more immunity. And having pulses, which will help in weight management, optimal brain functioning, and source of vitamins and minerals. It reduces the risk of cancer and it aids in digestion and they boost the metabolism and it lowers the diabetes and blood pressure. You know, one of my colleagues who have this kind of food habit after a retirement, now see, during his professional life, he had the diabetes and the blood pressure. But today he is about 74. He neither have blood pressure nor the diabetes, which means that the balanced diet has given him the health. So not only the health, which is physiological, psychological, sociological, environmental, nutritional, emotional, and spiritual well-being. That is how the health is defined. Now, when we start consuming more and more pulses, we need to grow the pulses. Now, let us try to understand what is the water footprint for this kind of food. See, to grow a kg of pulses, you need 200 liters of water. To grow a rice or a wheat, the cereals, you need 3,000 to 5,000 liters of water. More importantly, the pulse crop is not eaten by the animals. So that means in villages which are infested with the wild animal, we should promote cultivating the pulse crop so that you can reduce the human animal conflict. So with a minimal conflict, with a lesser water footprint, you will have the healthy planet, the harmonious state of mind, body, and spirit. That's what people working in Western Ghat we enjoy that. That is called holistic health. So now we have identified the ecologically sensitive region in the Western Ghat. That's where we have taken advantage of the big data through the remote sensing data. Along with that, our field data, we try to identify the region which are to be conserved. Because today we are talking about the nature conservation. Which part of the Western Ghat has to be conserved on priority? That's what we have mapped. You know, these are the region which constitute only the 2% of that, the 5% of the India geographical area. You know, can't we keep this 2% for our children, which has been providing us the diversity of food and medicine, and also giving us the water, so and the food security. This is what we need to question the system when the degradation happens in the region. Okay, we are also mapped at the village level. So now let's try to understand what is the use of the ecosystem. You know, as we all know, the forest or agriculture ecosystem or horticulture, we have done the valuation. We have looked at what are the tangible benefit we get from this ecosystem, which is called provisioning services, and we have looked at the regulating services, which could be the groundwater recharge or the carbon mitigation, etc. Then also cultural, recreation benefit, etc. So we have followed the standard protocol to do this kind of quantification. We have done for the entire Karnataka, and our these are the various goods we have looked at. From the forest, you get timber, fuelwood, fish, etc. We have got the quantity from the forest, and also we know the what is the market price and the cost. You deduct the market price with the cost, you will get the benefit. This gives what is the benefit you get to the human society through the provisioning services. Similarly, regulating and cultural services. Our study shows the forest provides the services of 2,841 billion rupees every year in 2005. And if you look at 2019, it has come down to 1,835 billion rupees per year. So now you all know that when you keep 1,000 rupees in a bank, you know, at a 10% interest, every year you get 100 rupees as a interest. Now to get 100 rupees, you have to keep the 1,000 rupees as a the principal amount. Now every year the forest has been providing 1,835 billion rupees. Now what is the asset value of that? We have computed. That's called a net present value. So it shows that the net present value of the forest in this 2005 was 73,000 billion rupees, while today it's about 47,000 billion rupees. This is part of the United Nations sponsored study. We did it for Karnataka during the COVID period. Okay. Now with that, let me bring you to the Bangalore. Some of you who are listening to me are maybe from Bangalore. This is the kind of Bangalore we had enjoyed during our younger days. Slowly, the Bangalore is degrading. Today, I see more and more such this one, the waste littering in the city, the frequent instances of the tree fall, the flooding, etc., which indicates that we have lost the balance in the system. Okay, now let us try to understand what is the situation of Bangalore, how it was in the 1800. See, when you look at the today's Bangalore, the area is about 715 the square kilometer. In this 715 square kilometer is like a small hillock. Whatever the rain falls, it flows in three direction. We have three watersheds in this region. In 1800, we had 1,452 interconnected water bodies, and about 82% was covered with the vegetation. Because of such a good the nature, we had a temperature of about 14 to 16 degrees Celsius, that too in the May month. And for a few days in December, the temperature was 0 degrees Celsius. Because of that, the people were growing apples in a place called Palace Orchard closer to IISC. But today, if you look at we have only 193 lakes in Bangalore, less than 8% green cover. And the city, which was a garden city in 73, became a garbage city eventually. And today it's heading towards the dead city. Now, let us try to see how changes have happened. See, as I said earlier, the topography is undulating. We have interconnected lake system. Okay. Now let us try to understand the worth of the wetland or the lakes in Bangalore. This is applicable to any part of the globe. The provisioning services, we get the fish, the fodder, we wash cloth, agriculture, etc. Regulating services like groundwater recharge and recreation. So now when you look at our study shows in the lakes of Bangalore, when the lakes were there, the groundwater table is 80 to 100 feet. After removal of this lake, in 5 years, we saw the groundwater table went down to 600 feet. In the same location, today, after 22 or 23 years, the groundwater table has gone down to 1,900 feet and there's no water. So, if Bangalorean wants water, they need to protect the lakes and also maintain the nature. So now let us try to understand what is the worth of the lakes or wetland, because I often hear from one section of the society the lakes are not required by the for the Bangalore in an urban society. The lakes provide the fish, fodder, agriculture, etc. to an extent of 10,500 rupees per day per hectare, and also it provides the recreation. The urban society depends on the fish, the groundwater, as well as the recreation. For that purpose, we need to protect the lakes in the Bangalore. When we pollute the lake, the worth of the lake come down to 20 rupees per day per hectare. Now, which section of the society depends on the lake more? The fishermen, washerwomen, etc. Now, that section of the society are deprived of their livelihood when we pollute the lake. That is where we need to maintain the integrity of the lake by not polluting and maintaining the catchment integrity. Now, we also try to look at what is the kind of the services provided by the ecosystem we quantified for the entire Karnataka. See, when we look at the wetlands in Karnataka, the spatial extent is about the 281,000 hectares of wetland is there in Karnataka. Provisioning services amount to 49 billion rupees per year, while the regulating services amounts to 196 billion rupees per year, while the cultural services about 37 billion rupees per year. Now, the total ecosystem supply value, which is a combination of all these three, amounts to 284 billion rupees per year. Or if you look at the net present value, it amounts to 7,320 billion rupees. Okay. Now, per hectare values are also given here so that you can, depending on the lake in your region, you can find out what is the worth of those lake to the society. Okay. Now, what are the threat to the lakes in Bangalore or any part of the globe? Unplanned urbanization, loss of floodplain, loss of interconnectivity among the wetland, narrowing the train with concretization. All these are the problems faced by the Bangalore. So now when you look at the Bangalore landscape, how it has changed, you see the Bangalore in 1973, 68% was greenery. Okay, red is the building, blue is the water body, yellow is the open space. In 92, we had the industrialization in Pini and Koramangala. You see changes happening there. 99, 2000, you see ITBT sector coming up in the outskirts. We see the changes happening in the outskirts. Then 2006, intensification started. Then 2009 further intensification happened. Now if you look at 2019, 81% of the Bangalore landscape is covered with the concrete. So you see only the buildings everywhere, no vegetation, lakes are getting contaminated and lakes are disappearing. So that is all because of the unplanned urbanization. Now, if this trend continues, what happens in 2025? We projected for that we divided Bangalore into four zones, kilometer concentric circle. In each circle, how the changes have happened, we try to understand the agents of change and the rate of change. With that, we have projected what is the likely scenario in 2025. This is in 1992, 99. So the 2000, you can see how the things started changing. In 2025, you will see 98% of the Bangalore would be concretized, which is not acceptable. That's where you see that. And if you look at 2021, it is 85%. So that means we are moving towards the more and more the the city without oxygen, with a decline the vegetation. There has been 1055% increase in the built-up area during the last 5 decades. We have lost 88% vegetation, 79% of the water bodies. So that is where we are paying the heavy price with the scarcity of water in the region. Now, let us try to see how many trees are there in Bangalore. We did this estimation in couple of words. For example, IISC, this is my campus, 400 acres campus. We have mapped the using GPS how many trees are there. There were 22,000 trees are there. We know what kind of trees are there, what is the age of the tree. We link that with the remote sensing data. Then using this training data, which we did for a couple of words, we using the remote sensing data for entire Bangalore, we did the extrapolation. Our study shows there is a 1.5 million trees for a population of 9.5 million. So that means for every 7%, one tree is there. So as you all know, when we breathe, we give out a carbon dioxide to an extent of 540 to 980 grams per person per day. And 1 hectare of tree takes away the carbon to the extent of 6 to 8 tons per year. By that ratio, for every person, there should have been 7 to 8 trees. But what we have in Bangalore is the reverse of that. So that means we are paying heavy price with the lesser oxygen availability in the region. Now this gives the where all we lost the lakes in Bangalore. The red ones are the where we have missed the lake. Okay. So now what are the some problems or the consequences because of this the unplanned urbanization with the loss of wetlands and greenery. The flooding happens every year. See earlier when vegetation was there, this gives the hydrograph the amount of water that flows on the overland. Only a small amount of water used to flow overland. Today, because of concretization, there is no infiltration. Because of that, you see the large amount of water flows on overland, creating the floods. And the subsequently with the floods, you have the drought situation also. These are the location. Every year, I see the flooding happening since 2001. So now, as you all know, the lakes are interconnected. When we remove the interconnectivity, naturally, this region is prone to the floods. And for any lake, there is a buffer region or a flood plain. These are the region where the stagnation of water happened during the normal year. But unfortunately, people are encroaching this the flood plain, constructing the lake view apartment. In the process, the region is prone to the floods and people have to pay the price. And the other aspect is the interconnectivity among the lake. See, when the interconnectivity among the lake is ensured, see, the water will move from one lake to the other. That's how the treatment happens, and there won't be a flooding in the region. But today, you see that interconnectivity is lost. From the remote sensing data you can map. When I see the region which are prone to the flooding in Bangalore, you see the influential section of the society are residing in that this one. They reside on the Rajakalways or the stormwater drain. If you go to RR Nagar, you will see a film hero encroaching the Rajakalway. Similar thing happens in RR Nagar, where the hospital has come up on the Rajakalway. And because of their greed, the society is paying the price. Last year, there were 2 deaths in that region because of the flooding due to the Rajakalway encroachment. So I keep telling everyone when people talk about river linking, I would say first establish the interconnectivity among the lakes in Bangalore so that we will have enough water and there won't be any flooding. There would be security for everyone in the region. So that's what we need to do now. So now let us see how Bangaloreans are treating the lake. We use the lake for dumping the solid waste. If nobody notices, the lakes are being encroached and Lakeview apartment come. and we discharge the sewage into the lake and industrial effluent. Those who are away, they send it through the tanker. When the lake is clean, it looks like this. When the lake is contaminated with a lot of nutrient, it looks like this: profuse growth of macrophyte. When the growth of macrophyte is so high, it will not allow the algae to grow. The algae, zooplankton, this constitute the food chain, the fish. When the algae is not there, you will not have the fish. That's how the worth of the lake come down from 10,500 rupees per hectare per day to 22 or 20 rupees per hectare per day. Now, when you look at the quality of the water when it was like this, you see the some amount of sewage used to come in 90s. The DO was zero, dissolved oxygen, but at outlet, dissolved oxygen is as high as 12 to 14. With that, you can see that treatment was happening. Now, today, with this kind of profuse growth of macrophyte, you see that the lake, the dissolved oxygen is only 3 or 4, which means the lake is getting contaminated, lake is getting polluted, which is evident from frothing and the fire instances in the city. I have traveled many parts of the globe, so but I have not seen the coexistence of the fire and water except in Bangalore. Now, to solve the problem of this, we need to have addressed the curtailing the contaminant getting into the water body in the form of industrial and domestic thing. But instead of doing that, the bureaucracy of the Bangalore, what they resorted when this froth was coming to the road, they just put the barricade. In fact, when they put the barricade, I had written an article. I had protested saying that this is not going to solve the problem. As I predicted, it didn't solve the problem. It solved the problem only for 4 days. On the fifth day, we saw the froth crossing over. But in the process, the bureaucracy had spent 2 crores. You all know when such a huge amount is spent, how much money is also pilfered. So their agenda is to the mismanage the resources than providing the service to the society. Okay, in the name of when we raise our voice, people, the government takes up the restoration of the lake, which are unscientifically done. And our study shows that among the 45 lakes which were studied, which are restored, only 13% had the good water quality. Most of them had the poor water quality or a very poor water quality. Now the reason for that is, see, in the name of the you know the lack of understanding of the function aspect of the lake. Then the lake rejuvenation agenda is only to utilize the allocated fund. That is where only the beautification happens. Actually, decontamination of the lake doesn't happen. They do not arrest the sewage or the industrial effluent. Because of that, you see that problem occurs immediately after the restoration of the lake. Okay. Then another thing that's happening in Bangalore is the narrowing the drain and also concretizing the drain. Historical map shows the width of the drain. When we looked at it in some places, for example, between Balandur and Nagaram, the drain width is 45 meter and 80 meter. Today, when you go and measure it, in the name of remodeling of the drain, it has become 20 meters. The government of Karnataka has allocated 1,500 crore for remodeling the drain, which is nothing but concretizing the drain. As you all know, the drain has to be natural. When the drain is natural, the infiltration of the water happens. But by concretizing, we are not allowing the infiltration. The large amount of water will flow through this, and that's how the flood happened. And we have narrowed the drain also. To help the builders, the BBMP engineers have done that. And also between any two lakes, the region is called the conservation zone or the wetland. Now, unfortunately, this valley zone is also getting concretized. That's what we noticed in Balandur, Vartur, and other parts of the Bangalore. Now you can see how the concretization is happening in the Balandur catchment and also the Vartur catchment with reference to the time. So now, when you look at the valley zone, which is supposed to be protected or conserved, you see that it is already concretized. The next generation in Bangalore will not have the water with this kind of concretization that is happening at all levels in Bangalore. Okay, so now if you look at how the solid waste is disposed in the city, our lakes and drains have become the spot for the solid waste disposal. We looked at what is the composition of the waste, and this has led to the diseases like dengue, chikungunya, and also the flooding in the region. So now we try to look at the implication of that contamination. The people use this water from Belandur and Vartur for growing vegetable in this region, in Ramgundalli, Siddhapura, etc. We collected those vegetable sample and also fish sample from the lake, and we analyzed the constituents or the element constituents in this the food samples, vegetables and fish, and we found the higher amount of heavy metal in this food sample. The heavy metal getting into food chain is a very worrying thing, because it will lead to the higher instances of cancer and kidney failure. Now, for example, if you look at kidney failure in the city, what is 1 in 1 lakh about 12 years back, today is 1 in 5,000. That means the kidney failures are increasing in the city. More and more people are prone to the kidney failures. When you look at the implication of that, when I visit some of the schools in the this region, I saw in one of the school with the Vartur at KK High School, LKG girl child had lost a kidney, one kidney. In the same school, the 8th standard girl child had lost both the kidneys. When I look at their parents, they not even earn more than 15,000. But for treating this, the dialysis, the kid every week requires about 2 to 4,000 rupees. So now the parents have to decide whether to take care of the child who is suffering from the kidney failure, or to run the family with the earning of only the 15,000 rupees a month. So see, this is what the poor people are paying because of the irresponsible behavior of the elites in the city and industrialists and the irresponsible bureaucrats in the city. Okay. Now, other implication which is affecting everyone is the region is becoming warmer with unplanned urbanization. See, the we have analyzed using the thermal data, that is again a remote sensing data. Temperature which was 21 degrees in 90s became 24 degrees in 2000, and in 2006 it has become 28 degree, and today it's about 38 or 40 degrees in the May month. Now, to understand how the temperature profile in the city, we moved in a direction. We see that wherever the water bodies or the vegetation is there, temperature is 2 degree lower, which highlights that the wetlands or the lakes and the parks helps in moderating the climate. That's where we need to protect this as a urbanites. Okay. Now let's look at what are the emission that happens in the cities. We have done the studies across the 10 cities in India. The cities where the public transport is weaker, like Bangalore or Hyderabad, you see the emission from transportation sector is as high as 44% or 54% in Hyderabad, 44% in Bangalore. And if you look at the kind of architecture what we have adopted for Bangalore, which is a glass facade building, which is also increased. We did a survey among the 3,000 households. Our study shows in the normal building, if the electricity consumption is 700 to 1,700 units per person per year, the in the glass facade building of this kind, the electricity consumption is as high as 14,000 to 17,000 units per person per year. That means 10 times higher electricity consumption. 10 times higher electricity consumption means 10 times higher greenhouse gas footprint. See, this is a clear case of the copy paste. This architecture is supposed to be for a colder climate, temperate climate. Our engineers have copied that from the temperate climate. They are pasted in Bangalore and Chennai, Hyderabad, which are the tropical climate. Where, see, this cold climate, you need this architecture to conserve the heat. But in a tropical climate, you should not conserve the heat. When you conserve the heat, you end up paying the this one by using the air conditioner, fan, etc. That's where the electricity consumption shoots up. So that means, to summarize what I said so far, unplanned urbanization led to loss of ecosystem, and has also led to the enhanced pollutant in the system. That means we are contributing more to the warming of the earth. So that's where we are paying heavy price in the form of changes in climate. Okay. So now let us, what can be done to the Bangalore? I'll take another 5 or 8 minutes. One is the wastewater treatment. We have done that with the constructive wetland. Then rainwater harvesting through rejuvenation of the lake. Then the third thing is creating the mini forest in each the ward, and the environmental education to sensitize the youth. When youth becomes they sensible, they will be responsible. When they become responsible, they will make sure the nature conservation happens. That means the best weapon is to sensitize the youth with the environmental knowledge, so that we will have a better globe, better earth. Okay, as you all know, we have only one earth. Now let us try to see how the wastewater treatment can be done. My study shows in the Jakur Lake and surrounding wells way back in 2005, the Jakur Lake as well as the surrounding wells in the the region had nitrate. As you all know, nitrate is a carcinogen which introduces cancer. That was mainly because raw sewage was let into the lake. As it moved toward the groundwater source, became a nitrate. Now, how to remove that? We pushed the government to rejuvenate the lake. When we rejuvenated the lake in 2010, the government put the secondary treatment plant. So what I did is I implemented the constructed wetland and algal pond. I was a member of the committee. I made sure that government implements that. See, when the secondary treatment, as you all know, the wastewater treatment has the three levels of treatment. Primary treatment will remove the large particle. Secondary treatment will remove the chemical ion. Tertiary treatment will remove the nutrient. As you all know, the sewage generated at home has chemical ions, large particle, as well as the nutrient. That means tertiary treatment is required. But no municipality can have the tertiary treatment plant because there is electricity intensive and labor intensive. So most of the municipalities have gone in only for secondary treatment plant. So by integrating this, we have made it economical. Now, when we monitor this for last 10 years, we see that 85 to 90% removal of the nutrient from the system. And this report is available online. Those who are interested can download the report and can go through that. And today, surrounding the Jakkur Lake, there are 300 wells. None of the wells have nitrate. See, I have a satisfaction that through my science, we are giving at least 300 plus well users the water without nitrate. Now, let us look at the water sustainability situation in Bangalore. So, Bangalore receives the rainfall of 700 to 850 millimeter. If you catch the rain, you have the water of 15 TMC. To catch the rainwater, the two options are rooftop harvesting, which can be done by individuals, so that 3 to 4 months additional water you will have at home. And the next best option at community level is through the lakes. You rejuvenate the lake so that you can retain the rainwater. So the Bangalore requires 18 TMC of water. That means the 70% of the water required for Bangalore is available in the form of rainwater. We need to catch the rainwater. So now, if you are using 18 TMC of water, you are also generating 18 TMC of wastewater. If you treat it similar to Jakkur model, you have 16 TMC of treated water. That means 15 TMC of rainwater plus 16 TMC of treated water. You have 31 TMC of water, which is a surplus situation. You do not need make it or two with this kind of proposal. So that means we have sustainable solution. For that to happen, we need to have the 5 hour formula. First R is the responsible citizen. When people are responsible, they rejuvenate the lake. They will not pollute the lake so that I can retain the rainwater and we can recharge the groundwater sources. Then they will also allow the recycle and reuse of wastewater. With this model, everyone will have water, not only the one section of the society. Then we are now the lakes are being rejuvenated in Bangalore, Balandur and Vartur. I am a part of the rejuvenation community. So we quantified how much silt is accumulated to understand how the silt can be used. You know, the silt is a wealth. That is what we have pushed the government to do the desilting of the lake. The Vartur and Balandur lake have about the 11 million cubic meter of the silt. When you look at Vartur lake, it does not have any the contaminant. It is rich in nutrient. While the Balandur lake has the some part of Balandur lake has the contamination, but most other part does not have the serious implication. Now this the silt is given to the farmers after we did the analysis of the silt quality. You know, that's how the science can help the society. We did the analysis of the thing and we convinced the farmers through the public meeting that what is the quality of the silt. The farmers took this one about 400 acres of the silt has been given to the farmers, about 400 acres. When I visited after 4 months, the farmers showed me the yield of the crop, and also they didn't spend money on the fertilizer. So they saved on the fertilizer because the silt had a nutrient, and because of the nutrient, they had the bumper crop. And each farmer told me that they have got additional revenue of 1,50,000 rupees per acre because of taking over the silt, which is a nutrient rich silt. If this is done for every lake in the country, there won't be the water scarcity, and we will not use more of synthetic fertilizer in the region. Okay. Now, what are the other thing? See, we also mobilize the youth. See, this one the children doing the planting in the campus in the memory of one of my colleagues who passed away at a very young age. So on the 14th day, we made sure that children come to the campus and they planted 500 saplings of the ficus which are at least 2 years old. Now, another example I'll give about how the we can be economical in solving the societal problem through the lake in the Gokarna. This is a Koti Tirtha in the Gokarna. The local youth approached me saying that there is a smell, bad odor coming to the lake. We visited the Gokarna, myself, my student. We analyzed the water sample. We found that bad odor is because of the organic matter getting into the water body, and organic matter getting in the water body used to decay, and that's how the smell hydrogen sulfide used to emanate. Now, to solve this problem, we should stop the organic material getting into the body, the water body. What I did is I had a meeting with the priest. So we requested a priest to identify a location where this visarjana of those the puja material is done, like rice balls, etc. Every day about 150 to 200 families does the ritual. Rice balls from those puja material is disposed in this lake. Naturally, this will degrade. Now we discussed with the priest and we designated a location, and also the priest have to do additional job of chanting the this one, and they have to collect additional 25 rupees, 20 or 25 rupees per family. In the process, we have a revenue of 20 to 25,000 per month, which is given to NGO. That NGO has hired three youth. Their job is to do the deweeding of the lake thrice a week, and excess rice balls every day. They will take it out and give it to the cattle, the livestock in the Goshala. Now, for the last 3 years, the lake, which was like this before we visited the place, looks like this. What we did is, in addition to this, we showed the employment generation as well as the income generation model. We also introduced the fish, which is the rice. That's how the lake is not contaminated. And you all know this lake, the Shiva temple is there. As you all know, the Shiva got the water in the land. Poor Shiva was getting the abhishek of this contaminated water till he met the scientists from IISC. The day when he met us, after that you see that he is getting abhishek of the clean water. Now even the God must be happy with this kind of the thing. The When I talk about God, I doesn't. It is the nature. So that's where when you keep the nature clean, when you conserve the mother nature, everyone gets the benefit. That's what this, and everyone get the job and also the livelihood. So now this is a lake I have created in the campus which stores 10 lakh liters of water. I stay on the campus. My family require 500 liter a day, which means 1.5 lakh liters of water I require. What I have done is about 10 times the water I am saving it here. So that means if every Indian does this, there won't be water scarcity in our region. So not only the this lake is being used by my student to do the algal study, even the animals are there. You see, I see otter in this lake. The pair of them are there, and there is a biodiversity in the lake. My student did the cataloging of the diversity, so that provides the food required for the otter. I do not take the fish and feed them. They are the voracious eater of fish, but nature has provided a food to them. And when I meet people, I also make sure they implement this thing. This is at Mudubitre, which faced the water crisis in 2014 and 15. These people knew the implication of the water scarcity. When I met them, I told them how to create a lake. We gave the technical ideas of where is the lowest point, etc. We did the survey of this region in that campus, and then within a 15 days they implemented this model. In addition to that, this gentleman took up the desilting of the lake in the region, Mudbidre, and because of his popularity, the remaining 30 lakes in the region was desilted by the local people. So in the last year, again, there was a scanty rainfall in the region, but this particular taluk didn't face the water crisis because of the rejuvenation of the lake. There was enough water in the lake and in the groundwater. When I see this success model, the success was because of the youth. So now the seeing that the youth, the who took part, Alva Science and Engineering College youth, and also CEO of Alvas is also young. We thought that the next lake could be in the Alvas campus, which was done in 2017. They also took up the native species planting. When I visited the next year, I see a greenery with abundance of waters. See, this is how the nature gives us the resources. Now, to put it on the lighter side, when this gentleman met me, he was a bachelor, but after creating the lake, within a 6 months, he got a partner who take care of the entire family. So that means when you do the nature, the job, the conservation, etc., nature also rewards you with a happy life. That's what he has. He was searching for a partner, but it happened only after creating the lake. Okay, so now if you come to my campus, you will see this mini forest as well as this climber. I was fascinated by this architecture. This climber occurs only in the Western Ghats, so I felt that I should have it in my campus when I was a student. I got this spot which had 14 seeds. Out of 14 seeds, 7 seeds I have kept in my lab. 7 I planted in 7 location the campus. Out of 7 location, in only one location it has survived, and it has become a very big climber. So it has occupied the wider canopy area also. This is next to this building. See where I work. Other 6 places it didn't survive, which shows that even the plants know who will take care. In front of this building, we created a mini forest in a 2 hectares area. 49 native species. The 500 sapling were planted way back in 90s. You know, in the 90s, this region was infested with Parthenium. But today, when you look at the region, you get a feel of the rainforest, and you see the diversity of animals like slender lories and the varieties of snakes in the region. More importantly, if you look at the groundwater, which was about 150 feet when the region was infested with Parthenium, today we have the water at 10 feet. At one end, I'm talking about Bangalore, 1,900 feet. Other end, I'm showing you the success story of having water at 10 feet. Temperature is 2 degree lower, and also diversity of life, diversity of plants and animals in the region. So that's where we get the inspiration to do a good science in the system. Okay. So now we also do the capacity building through the various program. One is Know Your Ecosystem, which is a orientation program conducted in various schools. We have been doing from 98. They have been conducted about 389 program. You can see the glimpse of our program where myself, my student interact with the kids, and we teach them how to do the experiment, etc. Also, we offer a course called Environmental Management. Now, this course is announced for the September to December session. I have conducted 19 sessions. They get an idea about environmental management, including solid waste management. Those of you who are interested can go to IISC website. The details are available for the course under events. You can download and you can apply for that. Okay. So now I'm organizing a symposium, popularly known as Lake Symposium. From 98, I have been doing every even year. The next event is the 13th Biennial Lake Symposium is during the December 28th to 30th. So it will be in Bangalore at IIC. You're most welcome to take active part in the symposium. We are going to release the brochure soon. So now the uniqueness of this event is that all the decision makers, all the stakeholders take part in the event. In addition to the international and national the participants, we also have the participation by the school and college students. You know, the select group of school and college students take part in this event. That's how we do the capacity building at various levels. Now the students do a simple experiment like carbon sequestration or the catchment mapping or the water quality. Here the kids are trained, and kids go to the field, collect the sample, they come to the lab and analyze. Similarly, the children in the rural area, they do the documentation of biodiversity. This is how they learn about the importance of the mother nature and why the mother nature has to be conserved. Okay. Those who are interested in my talk, the many are available in YouTube. You can do the Google search YouTube, TVRAMACHANDRA. You will get even the talk in Kannada, and our publications are available at various portals. If you access our research portal, it looks like this. All the details are there, Lake Symposium, etc., and all our publications are available. And also to equip the rural children, we have set up the water testing lab in various schools in the Karnataka. See, our agenda is when we equip the child with the knowledge of the implications of the pollution, that child will never pollute the surrounding, never pollute the water or the air. So that is our way of doing the capacity building, so that we will have more and more sensible youth in our system. With a sensible youth, you will have health in the society. Okay. And this is the work what we did in 2009 about the solar, the potential, the work led to the country's solar program. So if you do the Google search, you'll come to know more about the details. Okay. So when you look at the country's landscape, we have large section of the society youth, 65%. We have abundant solar energy which can convert into electricity and hot water, and we also have the algae in the water bodies, which you can have the biofuel, liquid fuel. When we harvest all these things optimally, you will have the country the with the sustainable development or the developed country. For that we are working towards. Okay. So these are the, if you want have any queries, you can write to me, and these are the portals where you get the details of about our research. Our publications are available, whether it's a research gate or a Google Scholar. And the credit of this work should go to the youth, you know, youngsters. When they do a good job, There is a smile on everybody's face. Thank you very much for listening to me. So I am ending my presentation here. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer. Okay, Namrata?
Thank you, sir. It was a very wonderful session. I really enjoyed it and I learned many things in this session. So, there are questions in the comment section, sir. I'll read out to them. But before that, I'd like to express my thoughts on this webinar, sir. So you have explained about various things, including the degrading effect of the monoculture. So how the monoculture affects the water bodies and how it is leading to the uh, storms and all. There is we cannot degrade the native species and we cannot create that complexity that nature has already created. So it reduces the water footprint, and you have also told about why the monkey pox came to humans. That is also because of the deforestation and
Monkey fever. Not monkey fox, monkey fever.
yeah, monkey fever.
Monkey
Sorry,
fox is a recent phenomena.
yes, I have misspelled, sir, sorry.
Okay.
So and you have also talked about how we can reduce the water footprint by using the more pulses, how it requires less water than the rice and all. So there are other things like you have mentioned about your lake symposium, and you and your team has created lakes. That's a very wonderful job, and we will post about those details in the comment section later, sir. The links to those like symposium and other webinars and lecture series that you have mentioned about. So overall, it was very knowledgeable and very insightful towards the nature conservation. Thank you so much, sir, for giving sharing your knowledge on this. So I'll go to the questions. So
Yeah.
first question is from Miss Deepthi. The green economy promoted by UN calls for public and private partnership. How effectively are we customizing and promoting it in Karnataka?
Well, we didn't know the worth of the ecosystem. At least now we know what is the worth of this one. Always people thought that the forests are useless. So when you do the natural capital accounting, at least you will bring the awareness among the public as well as the decision makers. So no one knew that the worth of our forest is about 79,000 billion rupees. When the country talks about a $5 trillion economy, if you do the natural capital accounting, you can remove all the filterages and we can achieve that economy. At the same time, bringing awareness among the public about the natural capital also helps in the conservation. See, once the people know the worth of the ecosystem in terms of the financial values, they will start thinking. See, it's always in our society, the worth of a child is also we assess based on how much salary the child gets it. Okay, son or a daughter gets it. Similar thing happens with the nature also. If we know that the wetland gives the goods worth 10,500 rupee per day per hectare, naturally people will tempt to protect it and will make sure that there is no mismanagement happen. That's how the natural capital happen, and this has to be conveyed to the all sections of the society. See, earlier generation, our elders knew the worth of the forest. They knew the worth of the water body. That's why they never polluted the thing. But current generation, because of our education system, colonial education system, we lost that root. That is where we are paying the higher price in the form of the pollutant and ill health, etc. If you have to remove that, you have to bring awareness in various angles. One is the importance of biodiversity and also the worth of the biodiversity in terms of the economic values. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I do understood that we need to bring out the economic worth of the forest, but it's also a bit sad that we are not understanding it because water, food, these are the basic needs of every creature on the earth. We have to know the values because there is already climate crisis. There are untimely floods, and everything is happening. So this is just
See, actually, if you conserve the nature, you can mitigate the floods. Now, what is the value assigned to the nature? See, the amount you would have spent in rehabilitating the population or the rejuvenating the system. There's an, crores of rupees are spent on the after the floods. For example, if you go to the west coast, our government of Karnataka has constructed a wall. Those are all stone walls. In the recent the rain, all those walls have disappeared. 4,000 to 5,000 crore of rupees we have wasted on those walls. Instead of that, if we had a green barrier, green walls through the native species of vegetation coastal area, you will not face this crisis. That is where if you go to Uttar Kannada district, wherever these green walls are there, we didn't see the erosion. Wherever this in the name of development, where people constructed this the stone walls, we saw the erosion and washing away of those walls in the thing. In the process, the government has ended up spending so much money on that, the useless job. That is where the people have to get the knowledge about the how the nature functions and what are the benefit people get because of the nature. See, it is many people in the society get a benefit because of the nature. When we mismanage the nature, only a one person or a one group of people get the benefit. That's what happens with the monoculture plantation. One fellow, in the name of develop, he will push the agenda of development. He brand it as a agenda, but it is only his development happen. But in the process, he is depriving the surrounding villagers 4 to 5 months of water. That is where their revenue comes down to 32,000 rupees as against 1,54,000 in the vicinity of native forest. So that is where I always ask the people, development at what cost? If it is going to deprive the water to our children, I would say we should not have that development. To bring that awareness, we need to do this kind of comparative assessment, the benefit associated with the nature conservation, and then people will take this idea forward. Okay.
Yeah, sure, sir. So I'll read out the next question. Um, so the recent news on water consumption TDS level at Whitefield HSR layout and Electronic City has shook the public. What basic care or water treatment plants be used in such areas?
Well, I would say that if they rejuvenate Belandur and Vartur Lake and have the wetland, then they are solving the problem. If they talk about technology, for example, RO, I know that region people are hypersensitive. They switched over to RO. Reverse osmosis technology will not distinguish what is the essential mineral versus non-essential mineral. It removes all the minerals. So that's where when people consume the RO water, they are deprived of the essential minerals. When the essential minerals are missing in our water, we'll have the problem of higher blood pressure, arthritis, etc. That's what we notice in that section of the society. See, that part of Bangalore, unfortunately, does not have water. The people are at the mercy of the mafias. The tanker mafia, etc. They know that quality of water is poor. That's where they end up using the ROs indiscriminately. Had we the rejuvenated the lake, had we retained the lake, probably we wouldn't have reached the situation what we have reached in Belandur, Vattur, or Electronic City. What is the Chakkur model has to be replicated. Fortunately, Belandur and Vartur Lake, thanks to the NGT and Supreme Court, is getting rejuvenated. As the youth in Bangalore, as the citizens of Bangalore, if everyone feels that that lake is for their children, probably they will not allow any kind of mismanagement in the lake. Everyone should feel for the lake as we feel for mother at home. We should also respect Mother Nature. Then Mother Nature will give us the good environment, good water, and good air. Okay.
Sure, sir. You have mentioned about the RO water that we are using. So I actually have a question that how to filtrate the water that comes into our home, but I think that will take it would be
No,
a deeper
Namrata, I'll tell you the thing. The people have become hypersensitive. The water which comes from the Kaveri source does not require RO. Unfortunately, half-educated section of the society, which constitute a major part of Bangalore, unfortunately have gone to the fallen prey to the advertisement, and they have put the ROs. The Kaveri water does not require the RO treatment. RO treatment where the higher contaminants are there, higher TDS, I understand. But when you are getting Kaveri water, just boiling that water and using it is the best option. See, you are wasting the energy. You are also not wasting the water, because when you use RO, for every liter of water, about 4 to 5 liters of water get wasted. It's a criminal waste. The government already is spending so much money on the water treatment when they supply the water through the piped system, and becoming hypersensitive and doing such a illogical thing is not acceptable. But when coming to the outskirts of this one, nature solution. See, if you have a well, surrounding the well, if you have a wetland, you are making sure no contaminants enter the well. So that's what happens in most of the Kerala and the coastal part of Karnataka. If you go to any village near the well, there is the wetlands or the vegetation. As the water moves from the catchment towards the lake, the treatment happens. So that's where you do not see the higher TDS or this one in the water. So I would say that people should adopt this nature principle if they want to be healthy.
Sure, sir. So those are the questions from the audience. But I do have two more questions to you, and I would like to present them, sir. So you have mentioned about Belandur Lake that is being narrowed down and concretized.
I am
Uh,
talked about not Belandur Lake. I talked about Raja Kalways connecting the Belandur Lake.
ah,
See, these are
so
like
that
veins and arteries in our body. We have heart, okay, which is like a Belandur Lake. Now that we are choking this one, as if the people are like, if the blood vessels are choked, what will happen to the body? Become paralytic. The exactly same thing these people are doing. They are wasting money. They are creating a paralysis in the city. And
so you
whenever there
have
is a tragedy happens, the bureaucracy gets the benefit. That's why they want this kind of illogical things. And
so
unfortunately, chief minister also has not understood. See, one
so
of
my
the
question is here,
audience
sir.
has written the groundwater table in Vartur and Belandur has gone up after we took up the rejuvenation. See, that is the beauty of the nature. The moment you remove the accumulated silt, naturally the groundwater recharge happen. If you go to Saraki Lake, the surrounding area, the groundwater table was 800 to 900 feet. Today you go and see 300 feet, the water is there, and that to clean water, which does not have a higher TDS. So if you do that simple thing, when you have a lake in your locality, if you respect the lake, if you don't pollute the lake, the water in your home will not have any contaminants. Yeah, you had one more question.
No, sir. The previously I had not asked it clearly. So the concretization of the drains, you told that is also leading to the floods and all. So are there no policies to control BBMP to not narrow down them and concretize?
See, I have been writing. If you look at one of my report talks about the flooding causes and remedial measures. I have given that report to the Chief Minister of Karnataka in one of the Deccan Herald organized meeting. These people don't even look at the scientific reports. They think that just because they have been elected, they have the means to loot. In that the filtering the public money is their agenda. So that is where they go with such illogical projects. Everyone knows, even the engineers who works in the water resource department, privately they tell me that yes, that the concretizing a drain is not a good thing, but they have to do it because every kilometer of concretization 8 crores is spent. 40% of 8 crores, you know how much money people can take home? That is their agenda. Till we allow the corruption to continue in our system, we will see more and more illogical projects. In fact, those people who are talking about the interlinking of rivers and the Ethin Hole diversion, etc., I always tell them there's a lot of water in moon. Why don't you think of connecting pipe to moon also, so that they can get the water and they can spend a lot of money on that? I hope you understood what I said.
Yes.
So such Unscientific projects is leading to the wastage of public money. The people have to wake up and we need to question the system. We have elected our rulers. We have a right to question. This kind of scientific document should help them in raising their voice the sensibly, not irresponsibly, like some section
Yes,
of
sir.
society does it.
Very true, sir. So, public, along with the government, can leverage this damage that has already happened, and we do need more awareness in our society as well as the government cooperation to uh, recover all these things. So, I have one last question to you, sir. So, can we recreate the diversity of forest uh, again?
Well, as long as you don't encroach the forest, the diversity comes. For example, one of our experiment, there are patch of forest which are protected by the people in the name of sacred groves or Devara Kadus. If you go to Shumaga, Uttara Kannada, you will see Devara Kadu. In Kodagu also you'll see, and similarly in Kerala and Maharashtra. One of the Devarakadu was degraded. This is way back in 90s. One of my colleagues just did the fencing. He didn't even approach any government for the money. Out of his salary, he got the fence. He did the fencing. And the beauty of that is he had done the documentation of diversity. What was 57 species at that time? Today it's about 130 or something like that. So you just give the protection. Nature creates everything for you. It gives water. It gives the diversity of food also and medicine. That's what we need to do that, and that's what we are doing. So if you restrict the grazing and human intervention in the name of development, you are conserving the forest. In the process, the society get the benefit. See, when we conserve the forest, the villagers get the benefit. When we conserve the India being agrarian country, 65% of people are dependent on agriculture. If you want to double the income of farmers, I would say just maintain the landscape or the watershed integrity so that farmers will have plenty of water. When they have plenty of water, they will not come to Delhi to sit on the all those bogs to do the illogical this one. They will be happy with this one. That's what should happen in our country. We should not erode the integrity of the watershed, so that if we maintain the integrity, you will have water, and more importantly, because of the pollinators, you will have higher yield in the crop. As I said, 1,54,000 rupees per acre per year versus 32,000 rupees per acre per year, or yield of the crop 14 to 16 quintal per acre for paddy versus 6 to 8 quintal per acre in the vicinity of the monoculture plantations. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Your contributions are really great, creating the lake, mini forests, and everything. And
I have done the presentation thinking that
yes,
many youngsters in the audience will take this idea forward. But one of the youngster has written to me, kindly do the similar work in other cities. All humans have a limited life. Everyone will not have a long life. So that's where youngsters have to chip in and acquire the knowledge and replicate this model. That's where the people with the knowledge, we can share our knowledge and we can help them in replicating the thing. That's not an issue at all. But at the same time, I want the youth to take this idea forward. When youth become sensible, will have responsible decision making. That's what the country is required. And for youth to be sensible, they have to just respect mother at home and mother nature. If they do it, we'll have a country or the earth which is sustainable.